Good morning, welcome to Catex TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Wednesday, September 30th, 2015. The last day to the quarter, thankfully, if you have equities in global stocks. If you wish to follow us on Twitter, please go to Catex TV. Berkshire Hathaway shareholdings in Munich Re, one of the largest reinsurer in the world, has now dipped into the single digits for the first time in nearly 5 years after Warren Buffett's conglomerate reduced its stake in Munich Re. They cut their holdings from about 12.02% down to 9.7%. They still remain by far Munich's biggest single stakeholder. People's Bank of China, Allianz Global Investors, and BlackRock all own about 3% each of the company. At the time when the shares were bought, Buffett said that he was investing to generate profits. He apparently has been doing pretty well at it because he's going to reap a $711 million profit simply on the basis of the differential on the sale of the share price stock. And he also has received about 72 million in euros in dividends during the time that he's owned the stock. So by our math, that's about $800 million in profit. Mr. Buffett has been widely quoted lately, as has his top lieutenant, Ajit Jain, in saying that reinsurance does not face as rosy a future as it has in the past. Buffett still owns Gen Re, one of the world's biggest reinsurers, and he also has recently begun to downsize his stake in Swiss Re, the second biggest reinsurer. He had owned as much as 3.1%. Russian warplanes are now active in Syria, just about an hour after the Russian parliament gave President Putin the approval to use military force. American officials are now reporting that Russian warplanes have bombed rebel positions near the city of Homs. Apparently the target selections are being requested by Syrian President Assad. Mr. Putin has also urged for international escalation to battle the Islamic State, which is in control of approximately 70% of Syria's territory. Last night at an annual Lloyd's dinner in London, the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney made a few interesting observations. He warned them that climate change poses three major challenges to insurers: physical risks, liability risks, and what he calls transition risks. Transition risks, here are saying, are the financial risks that could result from the process of adjustment toward a lower carbon economy. Changes in policy, technology, and physical risks could prompt a reassessment of the value of a large range of assets as costs and opportunities become apparent. What he's specifically talking about is any move of a society to a low carbon environment could hit investors, including insurers, through their exposure to companies in global stock indexes such as the FTSE 100 or the Standard & Poor's 500 that include natural resource and extraction companies, as well as energy, chemical, construction, and industrial companies. It's a very good point raised by Mr. Carney. Mr. Carney also warned insurers to be wary of what he called cognitive dissonance within their companies, whereby prudent decisions by underwriting lead to falls in the value of properties held by the firm's asset managers. Translation: if underwriters in the same company decide either not to insure properties because of climate change potential, what happens if those self-same properties are in fact owned by the insurance company itself as investments? A series of massive explosions have rocked the southern Chinese city of Liuzhou this morning, killing at least 6 people and injuring dozens. Local police chief said that 13 explosions hit locations including a hospital, food market, and bus station. According to the Chinese state TV, the blasts have been caused by parcels containing explosives. The incident is being investigated as a criminal act. Tropical storm Joaquin has now strengthened into a Category 1 hurricane. It's about 250 miles northwest of the Bahamas. It's lurking out there off the coast of the middle Atlantic United States. It's packing winds of about 75 miles per hour. It's not clear as to where it's going next, but one thing is clear: it's going to be a major rainmaking event in the U.S. Mid-Atlantic, which has undergone a series of droughts, not quite as bad at all as in California, but 18 days without any precipitation. So this has prompted flooding warnings up and down the East Coast. Nearly a year after the Orbital Sciences rocket, which was carrying supplies to the International Space Station, crashed shortly after takeoff from the launch pad of Virginia, a payment has been agreed to. The ship had been refurbished with aging Soviet-era engines, rocket engines, which were about 40 years old. Orbital was operating the unmanned supply ship for NASA when back on October 28th, it exploded into a fireball. A California-based company called Aerojet Rocketdyne had imported the ship's 40-year-old engines in the 1990s and overhauled them and sold them back to NASA. Apparently what occurred, though, is that some sort of incident occurred and the aging 40-year-old engines exploded. A spokesperson for Aerodyne said the payment has settled all claims. Now, however, there's another investigation going on because the Inspector General for NASA says that there is still $1.6 billion that have been paid of the $2 billion contract, and only 2 successful supply missions have occurred. Orbital says that the contract price will indeed cover 6 more cargo missions. Of course, they no longer have any engines, so it's unknown how the 6 more missions are going to accomplish themselves. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.